Here are 50 common college interview questions and how to answer them. The first 40 questions are going to be really common questions that you might hear in your college interview, and the last 10 are going to be surprise questions that are really unusual and really quirky. So stay tuned. Question 1, tell me about yourself. This is a really common interview question, and interviewers often start off with it. For this one, you want to be genuine, introduce yourself, where you're from, talk about your school, talk about 3 to 4 of your biggest interests, and obviously talk about what you're interested in academically. Give a brief overview of yourself, and it shouldn't take really longer than around 30 seconds of your time. Question 2, why do you want to attend this college? Answer. For this one, talk about your extracurriculars and how they connect to the school's values. For example, I go to Stanford, and for a why Stanford question, I would say that, some of my entrepreneurial, businesses that I've done in the past really connect to the school's spirit of entrepreneurial and tech innovation, and that I want to bring my past experience to the school to continue to contribute to the school's values of entrepreneurship and also innovation in Silicon Valley. You want to connect yourself to the school. Question 3, what do you plan to major in and why? Answer for this one, be honest. Talk about the major that you applied as, what you put on your application, and connect to maybe how your extracurriculars have led you to get that passion. Question 4, what are some of your academic strengths? For this one, you want to think about what you're majoring in and what your main field of academic study is. And you want to pick a couple of technical skills that connect really well to that field of study. For example, for a pre-med bio major, you can list the academic strengths of quantitative analysis, problem solving, and research. Those are all really important for somebody who wants to go into medicine. And if they ask you for your academic strengths, you can connect that to yourself as well as your field of study. Question 5, what do you consider your academic weaknesses? The weakness question is really common, and sometimes it can be hard to select the correct kind of weakness to go about. The answer for this one is you want to pick weaknesses that are fixable, things that aren't too serious, but also demonstrate an availability of growth for yourself. For example, some good academic weaknesses are like overcommitting, not having access to research, procrastination, those types of things that aren't really your fault entirely. They're more like things that you do because you work too hard, or that's something that you had a limitation of in your background or your family. Don't say things like, I can't think critically. That's a really important skill that you need to have. So select your weaknesses carefully. Question 6, what was your graduating GPA? For this one, you want to be honest, say your GPA as of the correct date. And also, you don't have to, convert the GPA to a 4.0 scale. Just say the GPA that it was on your scale. But if they ask for a 4.0 scale, you want to be able to convert that so that the interviewer knows. Question 7, what extracurricular activities did you participate in? Answer for this one, a lot of people just like to list all of their activities, like all 10 or 15, but you should really only list 4 or 5 of your core activities, the ones that made you a strong applicant. List them, but also describe them. Talk about what you did. And more likely than not, your interviewer will actually be like, hey, tell me more about this one. It's really interesting to me. You want to go into depth on your main extracurriculars, the ones that help you shine. Question 8, how would you describe your high school experience? So when it comes to talking about your high school environment, you don't want to be negative. Always be positive. Talk about what you liked about your high school. You want to be positive and give off that optimistic energy. One thing you don't want to do is don't come off as privileged. So don't say high school was fun because we traveled a lot, we went on a lot of trips, and we studied abroad and that type of thing. You don't want to come off as posh or elitist. That might not be a good vibe. But maybe talk about the things in your school that, really helped you love academics. Talk about maybe opportunities at the school for research or class that you liked. So don't talk about the negative, talk about the positive, and be genuine, be yourself. Question 9, what are some of your interests outside of school? A really common mistake, again, is that people, they just keep talking about academics. They seem like a nerd, and you don't want to come off as a nerd. You want to come off as a cool kid who's also kind of smart and has a lot of cool hobbies that really make them a strong spiked applicant with a theme. So for this question, talk about things that aren't academically related. You could talk about sports, you could talk about hobbies, you could talk about YouTube, you could talk about anything you like to do that's unique, that helps you stand out, and that can propel your application forward. Do not mention academics when they ask about things you do outside of school, unless it's a nonprofit or something, but even then, I'd recommend kind of going a different route, going a unique route. Question 10, what skills have you developed that you can use in college? So there's something called transferable skills. These are skills that you develop in a wide variety of contexts that you can later apply in other aspects of your life and in your career. Let's say you do a club, you develop some time management skills from, being president of that club. You can then say, I, did this experience, I developed these time management, these organization, these leadership skills from this experience, and I'm planning to apply it at X, Y, and Z school through this manner. So talk about skills that you can, take from one of your previous activities and then transfer them over to the collegiate environment. And so some good examples are time management, communication, teamwork. If you have any programming, technical skills, that you could bring to the school from a different experience. If you're like, yes, talk about that. Anything really that you can bring from your previous activities and apply them forward. Question 11, describe an experience or a project that you worked on in high school that you really enjoyed. For this one, you want to pick a project where you were kind of the leader or like you had a big role in it. So don't say I was in, high school band and we performed here and there. You were just a small piece of the puzzle. I recommend picking a project that was kind of related to your major. If you're CS, talk about an AP Comp Sci project. If you're pre-med, talk about a biology presentation. There's many routes you can go, but you want to talk about essentially like, this is the project, here's why it was really hard, and here's why we excelled. You want to always be specific and tell a story. People love stories and make it interesting to hear. Question 12, where do you see yourself in 5 years? For this one, you want to connect your undergraduate studies to maybe what you're doing in the future. So some examples of where you could be in 5 years. You could be in graduate school. You could be in medical school. You could be starting off, your career and where you want to go. You could talk about, where you see your academic interests leaning you into. What I would avoid mentioning is anything money related. Don't say like, oh, I want to, make a bunch of money and I want to be on vacation in 5 years. Try to be humble and try to talk about things that are academically related. Question 13, where do you see yourself in 10 years? This one is similar to the 5-year one, except you're probably not going to give any responses that are like, I'm going to be in school or whatever. Maybe you want to start leaning towards your larger career goals. For example, if you want to be a doctor, you could talk about, hey, I want to work here for this nonprofit, and 10 years from now, I'll be wrapping up my medical school. Be honest, but talk more long-term, and you want to have this kind of long-term goal set for yourself because they can really ask anything. They could ask 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. You want to have kind of a plan set in place for yourself. Question 14, what skills do you expect to develop from your degree program? So for this one, it really depends on your major. If you're more technical, computer science, that type of thing, you're going to learn a lot of programming skills, a lot of technical skills, AI. If you're like in the humanities, you're going to learn other skills, you're going to gain more experience. Maybe you want to gain some public policy experience. So talk about the things that you're going to learn from the program. And it's always good to be specific to the school. If you're interviewing for Harvard, you want to talk about Harvard programs that will help you develop those skills. Really tailor it for each school. Do your research. Question 15, what are your plans after you graduate college? Again, for this one, you want to be similar to the 5-year, 10-year plan. Kind of have like a career plan outlined for yourself. And whatever question they ask, you can kind of pull what you need. So I would avoid saying anything like, hey, I'm not sure yet. Even if you're unsure, you should probably find something that you kind of want to go into and use that in your interview to come off as a more polished applicant. Question 16 is, what skills do you hope to develop in college? The answer for this one is that the interviewer is looking for your awareness and understanding of what skills you can develop in the collegiate environment. Just think about your major and then think about what technical components that you will need to know to succeed in college and in your career, and then talk about that for that question. Question 17, do you plan to participate in academic activities outside of college? Absolutely say yes. Don't be the boring kid who doesn't have any extracurriculars or anything they do outside of school. Research the university. What fun clubs do they have? What can you do outside of class? Is it a college town? Is it fun? Don't be boring. Find things that are fun. Make the interviewer know that you have done your research on the school. Question 18, what do you think is the most important thing to consider when choosing which college to attend? For this question, whatever school you're interviewing for, you want to do your research on the school and find something unique about it. For example, Dartmouth has a D plan. It's something where they're very flexible about the system of when you take your classes. And you can kind of say, I need flexibility around my schedule, my academic schedule. And that's the most important thing for me because it can help plan my future and help me gain exposure to different activities. Dartmouth provides this for me because of its D plan, etc. Pick something strategic for that school that you can then talk about in your interview. It'll make you seem like you did your research and it'll make you seem like a stronger applicant. Question 19, if you could change one thing about your past academic education, what would it be? This one, I would avoid saying that you got a bad grade. Really don't talk about that when they ask you that in interviews. Maybe say like, hey, I wanted to take this class, but I didn't have enough space in my schedule, or I wanted to try this, but I couldn't. Don't focus on the negative. Chances are your interviewer may not even know that you did bad in that class, if there was a class you did bad in. So if they ask you, do you have any regrets or did you want to change anything? They talk about other classes or other extracurriculars or opportunities that you could have pursued. And of course, please do not mention anything illegal. We cannot be talking about anything, even if it's just a traffic ticket. Question 20, what are you hoping to get out of your college experience? For this one, I want you to give a balanced answer. Don't just say like, I want to, graduate with this degree, I want to go into this career. Talk about the academics, but also talk about the extracurricular opportunities, things that are unique to that school that they offer. For example, I go to Stanford, we have an annual big game. It's a really fun tradition where we play Cal, a football team. Talk about those traditions and talk about how you want to, experience those things as well as develop your career. Question 21. Without telling me your GPA, what do your transcripts say about you as a student? For this one, I want you to again focus on the positive. Don't talk about like, oh, well, I did good here, but I got a B or a C in this class. Talk about the things that you enjoyed and how they connect to your academic interests. You could say, well, I took a human body systems course series, and that got me really interested into medicine. And so I want to pursue medicine, and that's what's being told about me as a student. So pick your academic interests and go with the flow. Question 22, tell me about a time that you had to work in a team. Again, for this one, you just need a really good story. Think of this ahead of time. You want to do your research. That's why this video is here. You now know that they might ask you about a question about teamwork. Think about your past, your academic experiences. What are some really cool stories about me and a team and what we did to achieve something? And you can put yourself as the leader, okay? You want to pick good stories where you're a leader, you're the main character, so it comes off as a better story. And this leads us to question 23. Tell me about a time where you had to be a leader. So for this one, you want to really, again, select a strong, enticing story that you can tell the interviewer. Remember, you're going to be speaking in person. You don't want to act like you have a rehearsed speech. Think of a time when you were a leader and you overcame the craziest odds to achieve something with a team. That will be a good story that will make them remember you. Question 24. What have you read recently that has impacted the way that you view the world? For this one, you want to have a couple of books up your sleeves. When I was doing my college interviews, they asked me, what books do you read for fun? And I had to have some books in my head to be like, I read this and that. And it connected to the medical industry because I was pre-med. And so you want to have books on the top of your head because they might ask you, what do you read? What do you watch, right? So have some form of multimedia ready that you can talk about on the dot. But again, don't sound too rehearsed. Question 25, who do you consider a role model in your life? The answer for this one, there's really two routes to go to. You can go the professional route and you can go the personal route. Professional route is like somebody who's well accomplished in your industry. For example, for me, I am pre-med. And so a good answer, when I was applying to college was Dr. Oz. Putting politics aside, he invented a device that saved thousands of lives. And as a Turkish pre-med myself, who's going into cardiology, I'm kind of looking up to him to learn from, right? Non-politics, of course. In whatever industry you're in, you can go that way. That's the professional route. Personal route is like somebody in your life, like your dad or your mom or your aunt or somebody who had a big impact on you. Make that story emotional. That's less of a professional thing, but more of like a, hey, they really connected with me, and tell them why. Question 26, what makes you different from other students? For this one, you want to emphasize your spike if you have one. If you don't know what a college admission spike is, watch my video on a college spikes. I really explain it and how it can really get into your dream school. Talk about your spike, talk about your theme, talk about your activities that really, nobody else can do that are unique to you. Question 27, are you applying to other schools, and if so, which ones? They asked me this one in my college interviews and it kind of hit me like a truck because I didn't know what to say. But my recommended answer for you is don't mention every school. If you're shotgunning like 25 schools, please do not list all 25 schools. Only list like 3 competitive schools maybe, and then list like a state school. That's like, hey, I'm applying here because like it's in my state, it's close by geographically. You can use that as an excuse to kind of not mention other competitive schools. But you want to make their school seem like it's your top school or your main character. Question 28. Tell me 3 things that aren't on your college application. Answer for this one, you really need some fun facts. So I'd recommend before your college interviews, prepare like an arsenal of like 10 fun facts about yourself, and then you can use them as necessary. Question 29, what subject was hardest for you in high school? For this one, again, I would not recommend going in the route of the major you're applying for. Pick something kind of random that you're not connected to. If you're engineering, you could say English was hard because I was always very STEM oriented, but also talk about how the subject is also important to you and how you need it, when you're working. Question 30, how are you planning on spending your summer? Of course, people know that after senior year, people like to take a break and relax a little bit, but balance. Maybe say, hey, I want to, get some experience learning this, and I want to try something new. I also want to, spend time with friends before I go to college. Be balanced. Please do not seem like an extreme nerd. I promise it will only hurt you. Question 31, what does success look like for you? Answer for this, you could really mention anything that is success to you except for money. Please don't mention money. It makes you seem greedy, and it's not the best route to go for in your interviews. Question 32, what was a favorite high school experience for you? So for this one, if you sense that they're looking for something like personal, not like an academic thing, you could really go any route, give a story. Just don't mention anything unethical or dangerous. Avoid parties, but anything else really is fair game. Question 33, tell me about something that you accomplished in high school that you were very proud of. For this one, I would recommend going the route of like a project or something big that took months to achieve. For example, if you were preparing a business plan for an entrepreneurship class, you could talk about that, how it took months to prepare for that, and then you finally had your presentation. Don't mention like, hey, I had a test and I studied for it. Like, come on, that's super boring. Don't go that route. Question 34. If you were the dean of this college, what would you change? This seems like a pretty big question, but it's actually a pretty formulaic answer. What I recommend is that depending on your route of study, you could pick something that the school lacks and how they can improve on it. For example, if you're a sustainability major, you could talk about, hey, the school, it's really nice how it is, but it can be more sustainable. And as dean, I would make this and this changes to kind of increase the sustainability and make it more environmentally friendly. Super convenient answer, connects to your major, makes you seem smart. It is the way to go. Question 35. If you had a free day without school or homework, how would you spend it? Answer for this one, again, please don't seem like a nerd. Talk about something fun that you would do. What would you do? Maybe with friends, you would go out, you would explore something. This is a great place to talk about some of your other interests. If you play a sport, it's a great way to talk about you can play sports with friends. Whatever it might be that you're interested in non-academically. Question 36. Can you describe yourself with 3 words? So again, for this one, you should probably prepare ahead of time. You want to get those 3 words ready in advance because a lot of colleges do ask the 3 words question. And so think about words that kind of talk about your skill sets, but they're also not too generic. So some good examples are like analytical, judicious, tech savvy, optimistic. Those all work and they're not really that generic, but you can think of other words as well that really help, you stand out and push your theme forward. Question 37, have you done any community service? This is the perfect question to talk about any nonprofits you have, any sort of volunteering that would fit right into this question, and just go ahead and tell the story about how that initiative happened. Question 38, what challenges have you overcome? If you have a genuine challenge in your life, something about your personal background, you could tell that story. You could be emotional, be your genuine, authentic self. If you don't have those problems and you could say, I'm fortunate and I'm grateful that I haven't had any serious problems, but then talk about something else that kind of connects to a problem you face. But always start off with being fortunate and how you're grateful no matter where you are. Question 39, what would you do if you had to complete a task that you were unfamiliar with? So for this one, this is a very analytical question and some more engineering schools may ask it, but the outline for this question is do your research is the first step. Prepare a plan is the second step. Execute that plan as a third step. And the fourth step is continuous improvement. How can I learn from this and improve for the next time around? That is the general outline that you should use when answering this question. Question 40, what qualities do you look for in friends? Again, be really honest for this one. You could talk about them being genuine, being honest, being open, being funny. Don't say like, I want them to be like academic. I mean, you could mention that, but like, we're talking about friends here, not like people you want to work with on a project. All right, now these last 10 questions, questions 41 to questions 50, these are going to be questions that are super, super whack. You would never expect to hear them on an interview, but they're super weird and quirky. And a lot of colleges will ask them because they want to kind of dig into your brain and really see how you answer questions that you don't expect to hear in a college interview. I'm going to go through 10 of these. Question 41, if you could have dinner with anybody, dead or alive, who would you choose? For this one, I would recommend connecting to somebody in your field of study who is maybe like a past scholar. For example, if you are studying electrical engineering, Thomas Edison, light bulb, perfect person to mention. Question 42, if you won the lottery, what would you do with the money? Again, please don't say that you're just going to donate it all to charity because that's the general non-authentic response that people give. Say, I would use some of it for this, maybe investing, maybe I would start a nonprofit that I would do with this and that, maybe I'd put the money here. Give a unique response, but don't be greedy. Don't say I'd keep it, obviously. Question 43, if you were a candy bar, which one would you be and why? There's a lot of different answers. You want to think about a unique answer. Personally, I would say Kit Kat because a Kit Kat can break down into different pieces, and I'm personally a really analytical person and I like to break down tasks and analyze them component by component. And so Kit Kat is a perfect candy for me. Think of something like that. Question 44, what song best sums up the past year of your life? Again, don't pick a song that's inappropriate, but pick a song that you can really connect to and talk about why. You want to lean on songs that other people might be able to recognize. If you pick a super unique niche song that people don't know like what it is, it may be hard for the interviewer to connect with you. So pick songs that they might know. Question 45, how many soccer balls can this room fit? Answer for this, you want to be very, very analytical in your answer. It doesn't matter what the final answer is, but here's an example. I'm in this dorm room, and if I want to fit soccer balls, I could say, well, this room is probably about like 20 feet wide and then 10 feet long and then 20 feet tall. And based on that, I would imagine that the soccer ball is around like 9 inches long. So doing the math, I would calculate the volume of this room and I would calculate the volume of a soccer ball, and then I would divide the two, knowing that, soccer balls are also round and that they wouldn't fit perfectly on top of each other. And so really talk about your reasoning, talk about your logical analysis. You don't have to give my specific answer, but that's just an example of how you could do it. The final answer isn't important, how you get there is. Question 46, which two celebrities would you like to have as your parents? For this one, I'd recommend, going really any route you want, except don't pick celebrities that are controversial or inappropriate. Like, don't say Kanye West, obviously, but you could pick other people, maybe some celebrity researchers or people who are on TV. Like, if you want to have two of the doctors from the doctor's show as your parents because you're pre-med and they could teach you the ways, that could be a way to go. Pick a politician, two politicians. Be like, I want to pick a Republican and a Democrat as my parents, and then that way I can be really balanced and learn all the different arguments to address people. Question 47, which superpower would you have and why? The superpower question is more common than you think. Again, just pick a superpower, but be able to explain your reasoning really, really clearly. Question 48, what would be your spirit animal and why? For this one, you want to be really, really creative. You can be really whatever you want. I wouldn't say don't pick dog or cat, those are too generic. But pick something that you can explain that people would know of and tell them why. Question 49, what's your current opinion on insert current event? They could ask you what's your opinion on firing of our president for Harvard? And for that, you would want to explain, what you think about that and why. It doesn't matter what opinion you have. What matters is the reasoning you give. Can you explain an answer to a question that's controversial with a logical argument? Or do you fall apart in that type of discussion? That's what they're looking for. And lastly, question 50 is, what questions do you have for me? The interviewer will always ask you at the very end, what questions do you have for me? And you want to come prepared with 3 or 4 really, really good questions that you can ask the interviewer about themselves or about the school and how that experience was for them. Here are a couple of questions. Why are you proud to attend this college? What separates college students in this institution compared to others? What's one thing that you would change about this school? And what do students do on the weekends and on holidays? If you can get an interviewer to talk about themselves, talk about their interests, they're gonna probably like you more. Research has shown this. Anyways, that's it for this video. I hope you liked these 50 college interview questions. If you liked it and you learned something, please subscribe and drop a like for this video. We really, really appreciate the support so that we can keep getting you this content. Check out our channel for more videos, and if you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. Best wishes on your interviews, and see you later.